Imagine you have this, like, multi-billion-dollar machine, right?
Eh?
And it has worked perfectly for 15 years. But suddenly, the only way to save it from just completely exploding is to unplug it, wipe the entire hard drive, and hope you can reboot it from scratch.
Wow. Yeah, that is exactly what is happening to the biggest cinematic universe on Earth right now.
It's crazy to think about.
It is. The overarching narrative has just reached this massive breaking point. We're looking at a system that's completely buckling under the weight of, alternate timelines, pruned variants, different dimensions.
Right, and characters crossing over from franchises that ended, like, 2 decades ago.
Exactly. The sheer density of the continuity has transformed from this really cool selling point into a massive barrier to entry, especially for casual viewers.
Yeah, so the mission of today's deep dive is to sort of untangle those wires. We want to figure out how they actually plan to pull off this massive reboot.
It's a huge undertaking.
It really is.
Yeah.
And we are looking at a really fascinating stack of materials today for this. It's a mix of recent industry statements, some leaked concept art from convention floors, high-level story rumors, and official executive interviews.
And we are keeping our focus purely on the raw material itself. We're just looking at the overarching narrative roadmap.
Right. And staring down that path, it all leads to this massive culmination event called Secret Wars. I mean, we're talking about mysterious masked cults serving Dr. Doom, a complete societal rebranding of the word mutant, and a literal factory reset of reality.
It's wild, and I think the most immediate piece of that puzzle comes from the visual evidence we have right now.
Oh, the concept art.
Yeah, the leaked concept art that's circulating. It highlights these figures being referred to as Latverian witches.
And Latveria, just for context, is the sovereign nation ruled by Dr. Doom?
Right, exactly. So the images depict these figures in heavy robes, but their faces are completely obscured by these highly detailed, very specialized masks. And they're clearly serving as Doom's lieutenants.
See, I have to push back on how some people are interpreting this. A lot of people are saying it's just, standard villain imagery.
You don't buy that.
Not at all. In visual storytelling, you don't put a character in a highly specialized, ornate mask unless you are setting up a major reveal.
That's a really good point.
Right.
Right.
Like if these were just nameless magical stooges or, I don't know, robotic foot soldiers, they wouldn't need to be hidden from the audience. A mask implies an identity we already know.
You think we're supposed to be shocked by who is underneath?
Exactly. Why put them in masks if we aren't supposed to gasp when they take them off?
Well, the prevailing analysis across the rumor mill actually totally aligns with your instinct there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The consensus is that these aren't just random lackeys. Everything points to these being established, incredibly powerful heroes.
Wait, heroes?
Yeah, heroes who are either disguised, completely brainwashed, or maybe they've struck some sort of desperate transactional alliance with Dr. Doom.
Okay, that is fascinating. So let's break down the prime suspects. I mean, who actually has the power level to be on Doom's board of directors?
So Clea is a primary candidate.
Oh, Clea. Right.
Yeah, think about the last time we saw her. She was intercepting Doctor Strange, right? Pulling him into a portal, telling him he caused an incursion.
Incursion being the collision of two universes.
Exactly. And she says they need to fix it. But consider the mechanics of that interaction. What if she was operating as an agent of Doom from the very beginning?
Oh, wow.
Because Doom understands he can't stop the collapse of the multiverse alone, so maybe he sends Clea to recruit the one sorcerer who actually has a track record of manipulating reality on a cosmic scale.
That completely reframes that entire interaction. It wasn't like a call for help, it was a draft notice.
Yes.
Yeah.
It frames a recruitment mission as a multiversal emergency.
Man, that's clever. Okay, who else fits the profile?
Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch.
Obviously, she's incredibly powerful. But didn't she bring a mountain down on herself?
Seemingly, yes, at the end of her last arc, in this moment of clarity. But we also know she possesses unparalleled knowledge of multiversal travel.
Right.
So the working theory is that in the moment the mountain collapsed, she reflexively pruned herself. Like she cast her consciousness or her physical form into a void outside of time.
And Doom has the arcane knowledge to reach into that void.
Exactly. Or alternatively, he could just recruit a variant of Wanda from a universe that has already been destroyed.
Oh, man. So he's weaponizing her grief.
Precisely.
That's a terrifying psychological manipulation. You find this god-tier magic user who has lost her children, her universe, literally everything, and you offer her a purpose.
It's very Doom.
It really is. But what about a character who Doesn't use traditional magic, but understands the mechanics of time better than anyone?
You're thinking of Sylvie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sylvie fits that description perfectly, doesn't she?
She really does. I mean, she is currently out there on a branch timeline, ostensibly trying to just live a quiet life.
Yeah, working at a fast food place or whatever.
Right. But her core driving force has always been the protection of free will and the preservation of the very few people she actually cares about.
Like Loki and Mobius.
Exactly. So if the entire multiverse is in an active state of collapse, Sylvie joining Doom's coven makes perfect logical sense.
Wow. Yeah, because it wouldn't be out of loyalty to Doom.
No, not at all. It would be a desperate compromise to protect her friends from total erasure.
So the overarching theme here really is survival.
Yes.
If this theory holds, Doom isn't building a traditional army. It's like finding out the CEO's new board of directors is entirely made up of your kidnapped friends. He is collecting multiversal refugees.
He is gathering the sole survivors of dead timelines. And, that completely alters the antagonist dynamic.
How so?
Well, if Doom presents himself not as a conqueror, but as the only intellect capable of saving the final scraps of existence, you can understand why rational heroes would follow him.
Right, because he isn't asking for worship. He's offering a lifeboat while the ship goes down.
Exactly. And the water rushing into that sinking ship is the incursions.
Right, which we establish as two universes colliding and just destroying one another.
Yeah. The endgame of this entire cinematic saga is dealing with the reality that the multiverse isn't just expanding anymore, it's dying.
And the proposed solution to this dying system is something we actually have explicit confirmation on, right? From the materials today.
We do. Recent official executive quotes have stated the overarching goal of the Secret Wars event is to establish a streamlined, simplified, single universe.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because as a fan who has followed this for years, I look at the current cinematic universe like a heavily fragmented computer hard drive.
That's a really good analogy.
Right, like you have legacy files from the early 2000s stored in one folder, files acquired from rival studios in another, corrupted timelines, duplicated character variants.
It's a mess.
The system is running incredibly slow and the processor's overeating.
Yeah.
So how do you reset a universe without deleting the characters people love?
Well, the Secret Wars event is essentially the ultimate defragmentation software.
Okay, so how does that defragmentation actually work narratively?
To understand that, we really have to look at the source code. Jonathan Hickman's 2015 Secret Wars comic run.
Which executives have specifically cited as their blueprint, right?
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
So in Hickman's narrative, the heroes fail, the incursions happen, the multiverse is entirely annihilated, everything goes to white.
Just a total wipe.
Yep. But Doom manages to salvage scraps of various dead universes and stitch them together into this patchwork planet called Battleworld.
Right, Battleworld. A planet where, like, one territory might be a dystopian wasteland, and the neighboring territory is a futuristic utopia, separated only by a giant wall.
Exactly. And mechanically, Battleworld served as a brilliant narrative testing ground for the writers.
Because they could mix and match.
Yeah, it allowed them to throw all these broken, disparate character variants into a crucible to see what dynamics actually worked.
But the reset comes after.
Right. Yes. The most crucial part of Hickman's run is what happens after Battleworld. When the heroes finally usurp Doom and rebuild reality, they do not recreate the messy, infinite multiverse.
Thank goodness.
Right. They forge an all-new, all-different single universe. They literally cherry-picked the most popular elements from various alternate continuities and just folded them seamlessly into a brand new main timeline.
So they get a clean slate where you don't need to read 20 years of backstory to understand issue number 1.
Exactly.
And the quintessential example of that is Miles Morales, isn't it?
It is the perfect example. He originated in the Ultimate Universe, which was a completely separate comic continuity.
Right.
But because the character was so beloved, when they hit that hard reset, they just dropped him into the main universe.
No multiversal portals, no complicated explanations of crossing dimensions.
Nope. He just woke up in Brooklyn, and as far as the new history was concerned, he had always lived there.
Wow. And the industry logic behind this move is inescapable. I mean, this isn't purely a creative choice. It is a corporate necessity.
It absolutely is. The studio is looking down the barrel of a new generation of viewers, like Gen Alpha.
Right, and they simply are not going to do 20 years of viewing homework to understand a movie coming out in 2027.
They just aren't. So for you, the listener, the implication here is that you won't need a spreadsheet to track timelines anymore. You won't have to wonder if the Fantastic Four you are watching is from Earth's 6-1 scene or a retro-futuristic 1960s timeline or an alternate dimension.
The slate is wiped clean. It just provides a definitive jumping-on point. Fantastic Four and X-Men could just be placed into the main world.
Exactly.
Which brings up a huge point. If the universe is being streamlined to make room for new players, the most important new arrivals are the X-Men.
The absolute crown jewels of the studio's newly acquired assets.
Right. But they can't wait for a 5-year reality reset to start dropping them in, can they? They have to lay the groundwork within the existing continuity right now.
Yes, and looking at the materials, that integration is already happening. But it's through a very subtle, deliberate shift in rhetoric.
Yeah, I noticed this in a recent official interview, quote, "An executive hesitated to use the word mutants."
Yes, that was very notable.
They were asked directly about how the public is reacting, and they backed away from the M word, stating instead that the public is aware of, quote, "special abilities." Are they really trying to rebrand one of the most famous words in pop culture?
It seems like it, because within the grounded reality of this specific universe, the word mutant carries terrifying biological and systemic implications.
How do you mean?
Well, up until this point, the public has been conditioned to accept localized external sources of power. A billionaire builds a high-tech suit, a soldier gets an experimental serum, a scientist survives a gamma radiation blast.
So they're controllable, isolatable anomalies.
Right. They are essentially highly weaponized individuals, but they aren't a species.
Okay, that makes sense. So clarify the biological difference for the listener here.
Sure. Biologically, a mutant requires a dormant genetic marker, the X gene. It isn't granted by an external force like a radioactive spider bite.
Right. So Spider-Man is not a mutant.
Exactly. He was altered by an external source. A mutant's power is embedded in their DNA and typically triggers during puberty or moments of extreme psychological trauma, like Wanda.
Right.
So from a government perspective, a teenager building a suit of armor in a garage can be tracked, they can be regulated, but a hidden genetic anomaly that could spontaneously turn the kid next door into a weapon of mass destruction.
That creates systemic societal panic.
Exactly.
Which totally explains the dark escalation we are seeing with the Department of Damage Control. I mean, they started as this blue-collar cleanup crew retrieving alien debris.
Yeah, just guys in hard hats.
Right. Now, they have evolved into a heavily armed, Patriot Act-style federal agency with sweeping jurisdiction. They are monitoring these unchecked people with powers.
And take that logic a step further. How does a government agency police an emerging genetic threat?
They use the most advanced technology available to them.
Yes. And we know that the Department of Damage Control confiscated vast amounts of abandoned Stark technology.
Oh, man. So it's highly likely this department evolves into mutant control.
Exactly. We are witnessing the quiet, bureaucratic birth of the infamous mutant hunting sentinels. They are going to bastardize Tony Stark's legacy, repurposing his technology to hunt down genetic minorities.
That is so dark. Because if Damage Control is weaponizing Tony Stark's tech to hunt people, that fundamentally breaks the promise of what he sacrificed his life to build.
It does.
And here's where it gets really interesting. That unresolved legacy of Tony Stark is exactly what's tearing the narrative apart behind the scenes regarding the Armor Wars project.
Right, the Armor Wars rumor.
Yeah, so for context, Armor Wars was initially pitched as a story about James Rhodes, War Machine, navigating the fallout of Tony Stark's death. Right?
Yeah, that was the original premise, yeah. Rhodey desperately trying to retrieve Stark's world-ending technology from black market arms dealers and corrupt government agencies.
Which is the perfect thematic continuation. But the massive rumor currently dominating the industry chatter is that the project is being completely reworked. From a story about Rhodey protecting the tech into a full-blown Iron Man reboot.
With a brand new actor playing a recast Tony Stark.
Which I have to vehemently push back against this idea. I mean, recasting this specific version of Tony Stark right now would be like trying to paint over the Mona Lisa.
It's definitely a controversial idea.
It's insane. The emotional weight of the last 15 years lies in the legacy characters left behind, like Rhodey. It doesn't lie in simply resetting the board with a new face.
Okay, but let's look at this pragmatically from an industry perspective. Yeah. The studio is struggling to maintain the cultural dominance it held a decade ago, right?
Sure.
But think about James Bond, Batman, Superman. These IPs survived for decades, specifically because the studios recast central anchor roles.
But comparing this universe to James Bond is a false equivalency.
Is it?
Yes. Bond films are largely episodic standalone adventures. The entire selling point of this specific cinematic universe is a continuous, shared emotional reality.
That's fair.
Right. If you recast Tony Stark right now, you destabilize the entire structure built above it.
Well, while an eventual reboot might happen, say, 15 years down the line, I do agree that attempting to replace the actor right now would severely confuse and alienate the audience.
Especially right now. The studio just made the unprecedented move of bringing the original actor back to play Doctor Doom.
Yeah, the immediate timing issue is undeniable. If you try to introduce a fresh-faced, recast Tony Stark into the narrative, while the original actor's face is plastered on every billboard playing the main antagonist,
The cognitive dissonance for the general audience will be insurmountable.
it would be a mess. I validate your point entirely. The immediate narrative value absolutely lies in the continuum of consequences. Audiences invest in seeing how the surviving characters mourn and adapt.
Exactly. Rhodey dealing with the stolen suits is the story we need right now.
Right. But once the Secret Wars timeline reset occurs, creating that streamlined single universe we discussed, the board is wiped clean. That is the moment the studio could theoretically introduce a new Tony Stark, free from the baggage of the previous continuity.
And that really synthesizes everything we've pulled from this deep dive today. I mean, the future of this cinematic universe is entirely about spring cleaning.
It really is all about spring cleaning.
Whether it's Doom recruiting multiversal refugees to survive the collapse, or Secret Wars wiping the slate clean to make a single universe, or the government hunting down new powered individuals. Every single story is pointing toward a massive necessary reset.
The architecture is shifting from unchecked expansion to ruthless consolidation. But as we look toward this pristine, unified future, there is a lingering question we really have to consider.
Oh, let's hear it.
So we have spent this entire deep dive analyzing how necessary this streamlining is, right? How fixing the fragmented hard drive is going to cure audience fatigue. But if this cinematic universe successfully executes this reset, if it streamlines perfectly into one neat, tidy, perfectly cohesive timeline, do we risk losing the chaotic, sprawling, messy charm that made it feel like a real, living comic book universe in the first place?
Oh, well.
I mean, comic continuity was never meant to be a sterile spreadsheet. The charm was always in the tangled wires, the fan debates, the chaotic crossovers, the sheer absurdity of it all. If perfect continuity is achieved, is it actually less fun? Are we going to miss the days when the timeline was broken?
That is a fantastic point. We might just find out that we actually prefer the tangled mess over the perfectly straight line. It definitely gives us something to unravel.
For sure.
Well, we'll leave you with that to chew on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the continuity, keep untangling the wires, and we'll catch you next time.